Welcome to another edition of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour with your host, Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing and Kimberly Mackey with New Home Solutions Consulting.
All right, so diligent follow-up and follow-through will set you apart from the crowd. That is what we are talking about today in giving you the skills that, frankly, we haven't had to use in a long time because people were just coming in the door and going, here, I'd like to buy a home now. What number can I be on your list? Those days, that ship sailed. Those days are gone. Now I'm spending so much time coaching people on follow-up. So this study and what we're learning from this just could not be any more timely. So I'm so thrilled to have both of you with us. Let's get our housekeeping out of the way. And Carol Morgan,
Hey.
my co-host, friend, travel buddy, partner in crime. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kick it
So
off.
Carol Morgan, hailing from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm founder and president of Denim Marketing, where we create quality content. So if you need social media, media relations, blogs, Facebook ads, actually, we're doing a lot of ADA compliant floor plan descriptions and lots of web copy that's written for humans with SEO in mind. So keep us in mind if you need content.
Writing content for humans.
Humans, yes, humans read content. I know it's shocking.
That's a novel concept. I like it. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Kimberly Mackey. I'm coming to you from Tampa, Florida. And my company is New Home Solutions Consulting. I am an immersion consultant. I'm a management consultant. I'm the person that companies call when they need sales to drive the train rather than running it off the track. So if you need help with your processes and your systems, projecting your sales pace, anything that would help your and support, and I also do sales training and coaching, usually in support of those systems, but also standalone. And I'm doing a whole lot of training. There's a big demand for it right now, and happy to help you out. I have literally been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, as Leah Turner said to me one time. So I've been a division president, I've been a sales manager, I've been on the floor selling, I've done purchasing, I've done you name it. If it's in this in the building industry. So I am very familiar with how all the parts and pieces fit together. So feel free to give me a call. I am happy to help you. And with that, I'm going to turn it now to Leah Turner. Take it away and tell us.
Leah 1, we'll be Leah 1 and Leah 2 for the sake of this exercise. And I'm Leah Turner, and I'm here today representing Melinda Brody Company, which I know most salespeople are familiar with, the premier video shopping company, focusing exclusively in new home construction. So excited to talk about follow-up. Ben Marks, who's the president of the company, is also on the call, and he and I were just having this conversation the other day with regards to sales and training. So much of the emphasis is back to the basics. These past couple of years have kind of been an anomaly. So Kimberly, to attest to your point, getting lots and lots of calls and information, new salespeople coming into the markets and really needing to get back to the basics. Follow up being something that just, it kills me when we watch these video shops and see that people aren't following up. And there went the dog, because that's literally the easiest thing that you can do.
She's getting a delivery. So you can reach Leah at leah.turner@melindabrody.com. And of course, visit melindabrody.com for more information on them. And let's turn this over to our Blue Gypsy, Leah Fellows.
Hi there. Yes, I'm Leah Fellows. I am the founder and president, or whatever you want to call me, of Blue Gypsy Inc. I'm a national online sales counselor trainer, and I've been working in the online sales counselor field for 15 years now. I started out as an online sales counselor for new home builders, and I did that for various new home builders for 7 years before I developed my training program. And so I've been training for about 8 years now. I was looking at it, and I work with the new home builders across the country helping them set up their online sales counselor programs. If they don't have it, I help them hire the right person, because it matters who's the right person in that right seat. And I also help builders audit their existing programs to find areas of opportunity for improvement. And we know that follow-up is one of them, right? And auditing kind of rolls us into some of what we're going to talk about today, which is the benchmark study. Let's get to that. But this is pretty cool. And Kimberly, we can both talk about this because we're both going to be speakers in a couple of weeks here at the tropical sales retreat. And this is going to be an opportunity for education for a sales professional, an online sales counselor, your leadership. There's even going to be a marketing forum. There are, God, I can't even keep track anymore, Kimberly, how many speakers. Roland Narnze, if anybody doesn't know him, he's amazing. He has put together this dynamic group of people to come and talk and train sales teams, leadership teams, and we added an online sales counselor track this year to what he did last year. So Kimberly, I don't know what you want to add about this, but it's coming up. It's the 2nd through the 4th. I highly recommend anybody take the time to take a look at this and think about coming. We're still getting signups last minute here. It's in Clearwater, Florida, your backyard.
It's in my backyard, which was thoughtful of Roland to schedule it here, so I don't even have to get on an airplane to go to this one. If you have not seen sunset on the beach from Clearwater, Florida, you have missed a life-changing experience. It is incredible. It's one of the most beautiful sunsets in the world. So I strongly encourage you, for no other reason than you just need to take a breath to go and exhale and be able to do this. But to Leah's point, the lineup of speakers at the last minute now, Myers Barnes is also going to be there. Woo. So this is going to be, it's going to be a really great program. I'm honored to be a part of it for the 2nd year in a row. And last year they had just an incredible group of people who came together. So yeah, if it's November 2nd through 4th, Roland is generous enough to give us a discount. So if you use my name, plus there's a back to school savings discount. So that's $200 off. So that's good money. And he does include a lot of food and nashis. And so, you know, once you're there and you've got your hotel, like there's not a whole lot of other expense with this. You just come and kind of immerse yourself into this and then take away some good skills. So the where you can find out more information, the URL is right up here at the top of the screen. So
yeah.
And Carol?
Yeah, so want to make sure you guys all are aware of our next Sales and Marketing Power Hour. It's December 14th at noon, and it's going to be our annual Lasso Roundup. So we'll have the folks that have written, you know, what they think 2023 holds for sales and marketing. We'll have some of the people who write for Lasso on that Sales and Marketing Power Hour. It'll be a lot of fun. It's always a very lively group.
Without a doubt.
For sure. So then also make sure, if you're not already a member of our Facebook group, to check out Sales and Marketing Power Hour on Facebook. Again, lots of conversations there. We try to extend the conversations, you know, about what's going on in the industry to that group, so that, you know, you're hearing from us more often than just every other month. So join us.
Awesome. So let's kick things off. Let's get right into the meat of everything. We've got so much to cover. We do have a few slides because some of this stuff just made more sense visually for you to see. So where we don't normally have slides or a lot of slides in this, bear with us. We've only got about 5 of them, and then we'll put it back in our Brady Bunch view. Questions? Get those in the chat. So don't wait till the end. Go ahead and keep those questions going. And as we can, we'll circle back to those. So take it away, Leah Turner.
Leah 1, here I am. Okay, so the slide that you're looking at now is what Melinda Brody Company calls the benchmark study. This is a study that we've been doing, goodness, for 20 years. And what it is at the end of the year, we take all of the data from the actual video shops that have happened throughout the year, and we compile it to kind of come up with a national average. And this is really, you know, this is where we can kind of see trends. what's happening out there, the effects of COVID, etc. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is a comparison of the 2020 versus the 2021 benchmark study. And as you can see that there's 6 areas that we take those scores and compile that data: approach, introduction, builder story, model demonstration, home site demo, closing, and the topic of today, follow-up. So if you'll see here, follow-up in 2020, 51% of everyone who was shopped, and that's on average about 13 to 1,500 salespeople representing 45 to 50 builders across the country, all kinds of builders, your nationals, your production, your custom, your large, your small. So in 2020, 51% of those that were video shopped actually followed up. Now in 2021, you'll notice it took a dip to 45%, which to me is just like, oh my goodness, appalling, right? It's the easiest thing to do, follow-up. So the way that we categorize follow-up in the benchmark study with the shops is sending some type of follow-up within 24 hours of visiting that sales office. So this has always been a really, really important tool for us, for our clients. When we send out the reports to our individual clients, they get to see their scores and compare that against what the national averages are. It also helps with Ben and for myself when we're talking about what are we going to focus on next year. Kimberly, we were talking earlier about back to basics. That seems to be the theme this year. Everybody wants to get back to basics. We're kind of starting over, and follow-up is a big part of that. So about 3 years ago, I believe Leah too and Carol approached Ben Marks and myself about putting together a benchmark study similar, but really focusing on the OSCs, because that role has just become so important over the past couple of years. So when we're talking about follow-up today, it's almost like 3 buckets, if you will. You've got your first bucket, which is your OSC, that first interaction, online phone call with your OSC. And Leah too is going to get into all of that great information. Then the second piece of follow-up is really, all right, they've come into your sales office, they've left. You as a salesperson, are you following up? And then the third piece of follow-up, which is Carol's wheelhouse, so to speak, is the marketing. What do you do when they don't buy? What type of marketing programs, follow-up campaigns, drip campaigns do you have? So we're really proud at Melinda Brody Company at this point to really be able to offer really from beginning to end an entire analysis of what's happening in your sales office, from the very first initial contact with your OSC all the way through to what are your salespeople doing. So it's really exciting that the OSC portion is now so relevant and so important. So just to give you a little bit of background about where all of this came from. So I'm now going to turn it over to Leah too, so she can kind of give us a little more information on the benchmark study focusing on OSCs.
Thank you so much, Leah. Leah won for letting me do this. It's really actually a great report that we've done a few years ago. Like Leah said, in 2020, I started talking with Ben about the idea of the fact that we needed to do more there needed to be more options out there to mystery shop online sales counselors. And what we do in this benchmark study is a 30-day mystery shop of the follow-up. So we picked out 50 builders from, a lot of them come from the top 200 builders from Builder Magazine, Pro Builder Magazine. They come out with the top 200 every year. We pick about 35 or so off of that list. And then we also at random pick about 10, 15 or so from other builders, so we could get some of those small builders. So this year we created 5 subgroups that we looked at in our report, and we actually separated it out by subgroup, which we haven't done in the past. So if you've seen our reports in the past couple of years, you could see a new comparison in there. That's really fascinating. And this is 30 days of follow-up. So in that 30 days of follow-up, we look at 3 key things, which you could probably go to the next slide. We look at speed of follow-up, we look at frequency and consistent, persistent follow-up, and we look at diversity of the messaging. Okay, so we're looking for how quickly are people sending emails? How quickly are they making phone calls? How often are they following up in that 30 days? Because we know that not everyone is going to communicate with us after a one and done email or phone call, right? You got to get rid of that one and done mentality. I'm sure when we break out, we're going to talk more about ways to get out of that. And diversity of the messaging. Every single buyer out there prefers different ways of communicating. And we are finding more and more that over the years, we've said video emails are open more often than regular emails. More and more people are preferring to talk to you by text, but the phone is not dead. Email is not dead. We need to make sure that we're still doing a diversity of touch points. So that's what the study looks at. What we found this year, so every year we've done this study, we've been looking at the builders and seeing how much of a percentage of builders have OSCs versus not having OSCs. And we look at this in several different ways across the website. We'll look to see if there's actually a web presence on the website where someone actually says, hi, I'm an online sales counselor. Or we look at it within the actual email messaging. We've seen that go from 58% of builders in 2020 of those that we've surveyed. Remember, we're only doing 50. So it's what we use as our benchmark. 58% had OSCs in 2020. It's gone up to 80% in 2022, which on the surface you would think excites me until we get deeper into the metrics. I don't want anybody's eyes to cross on this. This is something I'm just going to flash up there, and you're going to have to get the actual report to understand all this. But we always compare the two groups of how fast the OSC groups are versus how fast the non-online sales counselors are. We don't know where those emails go. We don't know if they're going to marketing, if they're going to site agents. A lot of times we think they're going into a big black hole because we know that builders are not following up for the most part when they don't have an online sales counselor. So we've compared some numbers here of phone and email in this slide. We can talk about those numbers more. But some of the big numbers that still kind of shock us is that 22% of the builders out there still are not following up by email in 2022. It's so easy to send an email, and yet we have people who are making strong inquiries. When we start this shop, we are going to a builder's website. We are filling out a form on their website saying we are an interested buyer, and we're even asking a question. We're giving them our names, our phone numbers, our email addresses, and yet 22% still are not sending emails. And then 64% of builders in 2022 did not make a phone call. We have to get away from that fear of the phone and the excuses we make, because we've got to pick up the phone. We know the phone is some of the most golden opportunities we have to turn a lead into an appointment that then follows through into what Leah Turner's benchmark would follow once someone gets out to that appointment and gets out to that site. So that's what I've got for those numbers. And then finally, I'm going to turn it over to Carol for a second to talk about autoresponders and marketing and emails and all of that.
Absolutely. So, it's interesting to see that use of autoresponders is actually down, right? That's what this survey shows. And to me, as a marketing person, that's just crazy, because it's one of the simplest things you can do. And it was also shocking to me because it's one of the things that our clients have done more of over the last couple of years. So we've got clients that have written, your typical prospect follow-up autoresponder, that series of 10, 12, 20, whatever it is, evergreen emails, just to keep people thinking about you, what our philanthropy efforts are, what types of homes we build, areas of town we build, what our process is, how does your warranty work, all those things that are kind of evergreen that you don't have to update all the time. But then we've also seen builders, and this is, doesn't have as much to do with buyers, it's the fact that these are the closed contracts once they make the sale, doing a whole second series of autoresponders for, now that you've closed your house, what to expect. So to me, I'm just really surprised because this is pretty low hanging fruit. It's something you can set up. Maybe you check it once or twice a year. If it's set up correctly, it's doing the heavy lifting for you. Of course, it's not a replacement for your OSC or your salesperson or whoever's in that, chain, responding personally to that email. And, I guess that's the big thing that's shocking to me, because it seems like autoresponders have been used for a long time as a crutch, instead of having somebody really follow up. And, Leah, do you want to speak a little bit more to that, and, what you expect an OSC or the person who's following up to that email to do, and within how much of a time period?
Sure. What I like to say about autoresponders is, like you said, they're not a substitute for your first personalized follow-up. We want to see your first personalized follow-up come to you, go out to that buyer within the first 5 minutes or less. And so when somebody inquires, an autoresponder should go out as sort of a placeholder, almost for those really busy builders. It might say, hey, we're hitting a high volume right now, and our online sales counselor will be back to you within the next XYZ. Like, builders who see that their OSCs can't respond within 12 to 24 hours could put in their autoresponder, we will respond in the next 12 to 24 hours, right? And if you need something sooner, text us, call us, do this. That's how you could functionally use an autoresponder in conjunction with your online sales program. And then with those that do have online sales counselors, they should be picking up the phone first, making a phone call, leaving a voicemail message, telling them, hey, I'm going to send you a text message if that's a better way to respond. Then they should be sending a text message, say, just left you a voicemail message. I'm going to go ahead and send you an email if that's a better way for you to communicate. Connect all your follow-up together. Do not send it out individually, because you don't know if Kimberly might be the person that checks her email quicker. I might check my text messages quicker. And if there's no context to that text message, I'm going to say, who are you and why are you on my phone texting me? But if you give me an idea, well, I just left you a voicemail message about your inquiry about XYZ builder, I'm so-and-so, then I'm going to see it right there and know who that is, right?
You can even start off with I know things get lost in voicemail or email. Just wanted to make sure you knew, that in case it goes to spam, because a lot of times things do go to spam if you're emailing people. But yeah, to your point, Leah, like, this thing works to make phone calls.
It does?
It does. I can call people. I can actually have a conversation.
Shocking.
So yeah, you can send voice text. You can send video text. Like, there's so many choices here, but the choice should be use something that's going to grab attention to get engagement. And then once you've got that engagement, it needs to be personal. It needs to be two-way. I was teaching a team not long ago about using, BombBomb videos and how they could use that to personalize their follow-up. But then one of them got it so well that he's like, oh, so I'm sending a BombBomb about everything. And I'm like, well, that's great, but you're already interacting with these people. Now, that's a one-way conversation. Now it's time to engage in two-way conversations. I don't know why we're so scared of engaging with people these days.
I think the key too is with the increase in so many builders having OSCs, is that the OSC and the salesperson really become a team. And so this is your team that you're working with, right? And that they work together. I mean, it's really three elements. You've got your personal responses from your sales associate. You've got, like Carol was saying, your follow-up, your marketing campaign, your marketing message that you want to send, and your OSC that kind of makes that introduction, that initial introduction. So really, to the buyer, you've got this team of people that you're working with, and it's very, very important that the salesperson and the OSC are on the same page, to Leah's point, so you're not duplicating efforts. And that communication between salesperson and OSC becomes so critical, so that your message that you're sending is indeed consistent, and we're all on the same page and we're working together as a team.
Agreed. And it's actually really cool, because right now Leah and I share a client, and she's training the sales agents and I'm training their brand new OSC. And so we're seeing how that, how we create that cohesive messaging across the whole way, working with this team. So the two Leahs get to work with each side of it and kind of reinforce what we're saying about it. And so that's a lot of fun too. And
well, and it's exciting to see that when the salespeople understand the benefit that the OSC brings to the table, and when they really grasp that and work together to create these cohesive campaigns, everybody wins. The OSC is like your secret weapon as a salesperson. They can help you with so many different types of follow-up, and it's just, I can remember, and I know I'm dating myself a little bit, and I'm sure Kimberly, because you were back there with me in those days, but I remember hiring.
Don't date me too.
I remember hiring our very first OSC for a national builder, and this was probably like 2004 or 2005. And initially, that's why I love that slide that Leah showed about the increase of builders really grasping the importance of this. But initially, the salespeople were like, well, wait a minute, what's this person doing? Are they taking my lead? It was such a new world back then. But now when you really look at it, these two go hand in hand to really create the ultimate experience for your buyer and to make sure nothing falls through the cracks and you've got a team working for you. So I'm thrilled about that. It's just, it makes everybody's world easier.
When you're 50% more when you're 50% more likely to convert a sale when you have an appointment, why would you be concerned at all if somebody's scheduling appointments for you? Like,
right.
Bring the appointments on, man, because I know if I have 5 first appointments every week, I am going to get a sale.
Yeah,
and not
absolutely.
only that, but you know what? When you have an OSC appointment that's been qualified through the OSC, I almost feel that's a be back. It's somebody who's already, they know budget, they know product, they've got a general idea of what's going on. So your OSC, not to get off track, but helps with the qualifying and discovering. So by the time that person does come into the sales office, they really are like a be back. So again, win-win, right?
Right.
Well, and that's a good point, because that benchmark, even though it doesn't cover this, the mystery shops that Melinda Brody Company does for OSCs, the 45-day mystery shop will cover all of that qualification. So whereas the 20-year plus benchmark that you guys have been doing for the sales agents exists, we can do that for OSCs. And we do that because first we track their first 30 days when we're doing a mystery shop. Then we pick up the phone and make a phone call. We don't in the benchmark study because that's a lot of work, but we pick up the phone and make a phone call, and we see the OSCs and how well they're qualifying the lead. They go through those same areas of qualification that Leah notes in her benchmark study that Melinda Brody's done forever. And now we can see it. How are the OSCs doing that? And then that all gets passed on. So like you said, it can be then picked up where it ended, not start from scratch, right?
It should be continuous.
Yeah.
So we've talked about, I think we're all in agreement that follow-up is good, right?
Yes.
Nobody's dissenting. Okay, good. So, but let's talk about how quickly, I know your slides sort of covered this, but this one is the one that shocks me the most, is people think, oh, if I've got this lead that came in from the web, if I call them back next week, it's okay. So how quickly should we be responding to a web inquiry?
I mean, we've always said 5 minutes or less. The quicker you respond,
Say that again. Maybe say that again. That may
5
have to
minutes or less.
again. Yeah.
5 minutes or less. It's funny. We created a scale this year that says something like preferred, okay, it goes all the way to shameful, which shameful is like, you didn't respond at all. You had this lead and you didn't respond. And so if 5 minutes or less, if it happens to be 50, 30 minutes is acceptable if you're super busy, but just know that the further away you get from that lead, the more they've had a chance to move on from their thought process. They called you or they emailed you at a particular point in time when they were thinking about you, and then they've moved on. So the quicker you can get back to them and get them in that moment, the more likely you are to get out of them all the information they want to share with you in order to get to the next step, which is the appointment.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna deal with some processes here. I want to talk about this.
Yes.
So if your process is that lead comes in and goes to a sales manager to manually sort through and figure out who it should go to, stop it right now. because there's automation for that. And your website can do this, and your CRM should be able to do this. And we can plug that code. It's very simple. We can plug that code right into the website. It's an if then now what program. That's all it is. And even the most rudimentary of CRMs and an actual CRM, not a builder program that deals with that's a different thing, can do this for you. So if your CRM doesn't do that, then we need to talk, because there are other there are CRMs out there that will absolutely do it. So get that where it's automated. You can break it down by territory. You can break it down by every other one. I mean, there's a million ways that you can break this down depending on your unique circumstance. But somebody needs to be getting that, and it needs to alert them that it has come in, not just get lost in the 5,000 emails of the day.
Well, yeah, but the thing is too, and I know you're talking whether if it were to go to a site agent, but and this is obviously my wheelhouse is online sales. I just don't think, and I've done enough audits of builders to show that no matter how strong your sales agents are, they are not going to get to those digital leads as quickly or as frequently or in process as an online sales counselor that's properly trained. Now, that was part of my disappointment about the benchmark study this year, was with such a raise of 20% more OSCs, we didn't have 20% better follow-up across the board, right? And so that to me says
about when you did this benchmark too, because it was after the market started normalizing.
We did this shop like mid-June into July. So mid-June into July. So it was at a time when you can't tell me you were still drinking through a fire hose of leads. Right. And still, we've been comparing it against builders drinking through a fire hose of leads for 2 years prior. So the fact that it'd be lower now doesn't make any sense to me. Well, I mean, actually, our numbers were slightly higher overall because we had more OSCs, but they were not 20% higher like I would have liked to have seen across the board, which means to me that we are not putting processes in place. We are not creating the proper expectations. We might have people who are burnt out, who are tired. What's going on here? But if we have 20% more OSCs from year to year, they can't be burnt out yet, right? So they're not properly trained, or they're not setting proper expectations on what a process is to get someone to respond, right?
Well, yeah. And Leah, what's the consequence of not responding, quickly enough? I mean, I know what I think it is, but
you're going to go to the competition.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're probably not the only home builder they've emailed, right? Or that they've contacted. They've probably narrowed it down to their top 3 and contacted all 3.
That's what we always say. If you're not following up, guess who is?
Somebody else.
Competition is following up. And again, I've always felt like there's no excuse not to follow up. And now if you look at it really as 3 separate silos, your OSC follow up, your salesperson follow up, and then your automated marketing follow up, there's absolutely no excuse. And one thing I think we do need to address, that the marketing and the OSC are such a huge support for the on-site, because let's be honest, our on-sites are focused on who's in front of them. It's ridiculous to think, okay, you need to manually follow up with the guy who came in here in 1902. It's not going to happen. That's just not who they are. I mean, who's in front of me, that's who I'm selling to, and that's what they should be doing. And that's by joining with the OSC and this automated marketing and having that campaign, all of your bases are covered, because your salesperson's not going to do that. That's not in their DNA to follow up with old leads and getting those touch programs together. That's why OSC and marketing and on-site, all 3 work together to really create a very comprehensive follow-up program. It's no longer just follow-up. It's what is your follow-up program? What are your follow-up systems?
Yeah.
And when you're following up, it isn't a one and done. So now what happens? So when we rank our prospects with that A, B, or C, that's the ranking that I use. I know OSCs have like 25 different codes that they use, which I still don't quite understand and have to go, Leah, what does this mean? But if you know that your buyer, if you've got a buyer who's hot, they're going to buy within the next 45 days from somebody, maybe not you, that's a sale, once the OSC is qualified, then that's your salesperson. Your salesperson needs to be that's hot. Let's get these people in, let's get them on paper. But those B's and C's, that's where we lose people. And we lose them because, again, they're not right in front of them. And the salespeople, bright, shiny object, squirrel, like squirrel. That's what I mean by that. That happens, but it's also a product of just being so busy with the answering questions, managing the pipeline, being out on site, being in meetings. Whereas if you have that OSC and that one dedicated person, that is literally their job. You got one job. Your job is to nurture these people and get them in and get an appointment with them. That's it. And when that's your focus, you're just going to do a better job at it. Mm-hmm. We don't lose those B's and C's. And right now we're seeing B's and C's come through the doors. They're walking into our sales centers again.
Right.
Going,
they're coming back.
How do I buy? How do I buy from you? They don't know anything about interest rates. Mm-hmm. They just know they sat out the crazy market and now they want to try to buy a home, but they need help.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for generating traffic too, I think, like the OSC and the marketing team can get together. Okay, we need to generate traffic to such and such community. Now you've got that data and you've got these two brains working together to come up with campaigns or e-blast campaigns or promotional campaigns kind of spearheaded by marketing and an OSC to drive traffic. So, that really that it is a secret weapon. It can help you with the follow-up. It can help you to generate traffic. It's there's no negative to it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and there's something that I like to call possession versus ownership, right? And you guys have all heard me say this, but maybe some of the people on this have not. But possession versus ownership. When the lead comes in, the OSC owns it, right? And they possess it. When they nurture it to the point where they can get it to appointment, they pass it off to the agent. Now the possession has changed hands, but ownership is still shared. We all have a horse in the game as to whether this lead converts. And we know that if someone's going to set an appointment, they're pretty likely to buy a house somewhere. So let's make it with us. So when that communication is open between the online and the on-site agent to know, how did that appointment go? How can I help? Oh, you're getting ghosted. The OSC can pick it up and say, let me try a different voice to reach back out to that person. Or the agent says, well, they're not going to buy for another 6 months. Great. Well, tell me how I can help. And I'll touch that person every once in a while and get them back out to you. That's that shared ownership. We don't want the agents sending all their C's and D's back to the OSCs. That's not what I'm saying. But when there's that shared possession and ownership of a lead that came in through digital means, it's in the OSC's best interest to keep tracing the path of that to see how, when, and if it's going to convert. So they're checking in with the agents and making the agents keep that top of mind when they usually let it float to the bottom of the pile, right? So that's something that's important as well.
Yeah. And, I would argue that anyone who's giving you their name and contact information in this current market is a serious buyer. With interest rates where they are, people aren't just out there kicking tires. If they've given you a name and set an appointment, chances are it's going to be a sale.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's the whole thing of a process, right? A general follow-up process. All OSCs should be trained. And if they're not, then shame on their trainer, shame on their builder, whatever, that they have an ongoing follow-up process that doesn't just go out 30 days. It goes out 2 years. It can go out now, especially as the market changes. Because during the last downturn, I saw leads that came in 1 year, 2 to 3 years later, because we have that. I'm like, this is sick. I'm ready to buy. Yay, and that OSC can create that. An agent isn't going to do that. They're just like that. It's one of them. That's what it should be. They should focus on what's in front of them and not worry about all the other stuff. That's why the online sales counselor role was created, to nurture and create a pipeline, right? To work that pipeline.
I call it mining for gold. So you
right.
Go back and old leads and people who haven't been able to buy in the last couple of years, and a simple script. We talked about that we would give you guys some hows. So we're going to shift into our hows here, but one of them is just simply picking up the phone and saying, I'm touching base with you again. I know that the last couple of years were a very disappointing process for you. Where are you in your search for a new home? That's that old lead, the stale lead that hasn't been touched in a while. And that can be done with your OSCs. That can be done with your sales. Anybody can pick up the phone and reach out and say this. And it's amazing what kind of great response we get. So that's an old school way of doing it. But I think we should also talk about some of the other ways that we can engage. Carol, I know one of my clients is doing a really good job with their marketing. They're really pretty marketing emails that are bringing something new and interesting. And, so we're not trying to do it ad nauseum, but every couple of weeks, just a little something. And that's generating those leads. The phone's starting to ring from those marketing emails.
Well, the big difference in marketing, Kimberly, between, 6 months ago and today is we've got builders that actually have inventory. So we're starting to see inventory flyers again. Come tour our, standing inventory, which honestly people like. They'd rather not buy pre-sale. They'd rather be able to see it, feel it, touch it, buy it, right? So it's not necessarily a negative. And I think we've got 2 months of inventory nationwide, or I know that's what it is in the Southeast. It's nothing. We still have really low inventory. So, not a reason to panic, but promote that inventory. People love seeing, touching, feeling, walking those homes. And the other campaigns we're seeing a lot of, and I'm sure, you guys are seeing them too, the buy down, buying those interest rates down. So yeah, maybe interest rates are 6%, but we have a 2% buy down. So, with us, it's only going to be 4%. Because, the builders, paying that extra, incentive to get them to the rate that they're comfortable with. So I think that putting that out there, and again, we've got some marketers that haven't had to do much marketing for the past 2 years. You can go to some national builders' Facebook pages and all you're going to see is brand messaging. If you go back and look at the last 2 years, because that's all they've had to do. It's just branding. Well, now you've got campaigns and promotions and, free basements and $10,000 off. And it's been interesting to see the creativity come back, because that's where it starts to get, fun.
And you can get educational. Yeah. This is a time, if there's ever been a time to educate your buyers about why now is a great time to buy a home.
Yep.
So what are the great reasons to buy a home right now? And those can go out in the pretty emails that I call them pretty emails that come from marketing, where we have some graphics. They should be very well thought out. They should definitely be proofread and not have typos in them. Everything should have the Fair Housing logo on it. So reminder of that, if it's a marketing email, it needs to have the Fair Housing logo on it. But then that's followed up by those more personal from the desk of emails, or even a personal bomb video. And I'm a big fan of the bomb videos. And then you hold up a sign in that video that is, "Hey, Leah," and it's got Leah written right there on it. And that's how you start the video. So that's where it pauses and it shows their name right there in it. And then you tell them whatever you want. "Hey, since the last time we got together, I wanted to let you know that this home is now ready to be toured. You could walk this home together. Why don't we set up our VIP tour?" Any of those things, but you got to get their attention. And by putting their name in it, and it's that one-time email specific or one-time video for that one buyer, unless you happen to know multiple Leahs like I do, and then you could use that one over and over again.
Yeah, that'll be funny. Instead of grouping your day one emails, you're now grouping your by name video emails. Look, I have 5 Marys I have to send a video to today.
That might totally work. Yeah, if you make the messaging, so you've got your marketing messaging, and then you've got your personal messaging. And to me, and Leah Turner and I, we could go on all day about this one. So I'm going to get her on a roll here. But when you do those discovery questions, when you really understand what your buyer's hot buttons are, what their pain points are, So, and just, I mean, know the name of their dog. So if I don't know Daisy May, Leah's going to be very upset if I don't know about Daisy May and Elvis the steer.
I was gonna say Elvis is the star of the show at Leah's house.
Well, you make me laugh because I tell this story often, but when Melinda Brody Company first started, Melinda was actually the owner of the company, but she was out there doing the shops, and it was before it was video shops, and she had a bird named Scooby, like a little parakeet or something like that. I mean, we're going back 20 plus years, and she got a follow-up, and it was thank you for coming in. And in the follow-up, this is the old-timey snail mail, was a little package of like bird seed with a little note, this is special for Scooby. And I remember that story, and I still use it even though it's decades old, because that's the power of personalizing your follow-up. You think she remembered that? Absolutely. Or Kimberly, when we're training salespeople, we say, hold back on a piece of information. If they inquired about, hey, my daughter is in gymnastics, do you know of any, gymnastic studios? Hold back on that, so that when you do follow up, you're saying, I've researched a little bit more, and little Susie will love to know that there's a gymnastics studio that's opening up in the fall of 2022, or whatever that is. So hold back, because there's nothing that drives me more cray-cray than seeing the follow-up that's, dear Carol, thank you for visiting 123 Main. We enjoyed seeing you. Let me know if you have any questions. Call me. If you're going to do that, stay on the porch. You've got to be able to provide engaging, personalized, fun, for lack of a better word, follow-up. We all get inundated with all these boring emails and boom, boom, boom. So like the video or something fun like that that's going to set you apart from the crowd is key, in my opinion, to follow up.
Yeah, and have some fun with it. I mean, I love a good challenge. So it's like a puzzle. If somebody's telling me about their bird named Scooby, I mean, how often, I mean, I got lots of questions about a bird named Scooby.
Exactly.
We get so, we've forgotten how to have dialogue and have real conversations with people. So, the bottom line is get real, learn something about them. I mean, I tell this story, Leah's heard me tell this story before, but standing in a kitchen talking to a guy about his Harley Davidsons for 45 minutes. Now, what I know about Harley Davidsons is Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because that's where they started, right? I know what a Harley sounds like because it's very unique. And I know that more chrome is good. I also know that every week is Bike Week in Daytona, Florida, because I've never been there when it wasn't. So
That's
beyond
funny.
that, we're like, I'm beyond. But this guy, that was his motive for moving, is he wanted a tandem 3-car garage so that he could have a workshop and a place to work on his Harley Davidson. He was one of those weekend warriors. So our follow-up with him was all related to that. But don't forget, he had a wife, and that wife was not into Harley Davidsons. So we also had to find her hot buttons because she didn't want to move. He was all for moving. She wasn't. So we had to engage with her, and we had to find out what she was interested in and what her hot buttons were and what she was looking for and what the pain points in her current home were, so that if she was hypothetically considering moving, what would that be? And by finding those things out, then, I mean, you've got a world of things that you can follow up on. But if we're just filling out, Jeff Shore says, don't ask them questions that are on the reg card. And to my realtors, I'm always like, stop asking them the MLS intake form. I don't care. I don't want to know how many bedrooms and how many square feet and how many bathrooms. Don't even bother telling me this information, because if I've done a good enough job, I'm going to have a brilliant idea of what their home looks like by them explaining to me how they live in it. And it's going to give you this world of, if you can't close them on the first visit, then you can close them on, you can close them for that appointment.
The follow-up,
your follow-up, and so that we're shortening that buying cycle all the way through.
And Kimberly, to your point too, I think that the 2 words, be curious. Be curious when your prospects come in. Don't read off the check mark, do this, do this, do this. But
please, yes.
Like Carol said at the beginning, I think when we were having our chat, be a human being, be curious, find out what their hot buttons are. Not only does that help build rapport, but it's giving you great ammunition for your follow-up. So being curious, I think, is just a necessity in sales these days.
That's a great
Yeah.
point. I like to do follow up when I'm following up with prospective clients for the agency. I always like to ask them a question in the subject line. And one of the ones that I got the best results from was on National Ice Cream Day. And I literally put in the subject line, chocolate or vanilla. Hey, today's National Ice Cream Day. What's your favorite, chocolate or vanilla? And people actually responded. A lot of times it was like, yeah, not really either. I like blah, 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 blah. Have you ever been to the Marble Slab Creamery? And I like them to do that. I mean, it was crazy how much response I got. So sometimes it's just catching them off guard with, an atypical question versus the same old crap everybody else asks them, right?
Absolutely.
I
Versus-
think that's a
great example.
good point. I think that's a really good point of subject lines being so important.
Very
So
important.
questions in your subject lines are
Good one.
always going to get a better response than just following up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate that. Just following up shouldn't be. I gotta tell you though, that one that's really for those people who never respond to online sales counselors for 30, 45 days, and you send an email out that says, help me update your file. That gets a response. My OSCs always say that gets a response. Help me update your file. And then in the email, you can say, are you still looking for a house? Are we still on your list? And where do we rank among the other builders you've seen? You've got to get creative, but that help me update your file one has always been one that helps,
Right. By nature, we want to help. We want to answer questions. We want to have fun. Ooh, somebody wants my opinion on chocolate or vanilla. I'm responding. Or somebody needs my help. Oh my goodness, I'm happy to help. Turn it around a little bit, and again, make it interactive and questions and inquire and curious, not just tell you.
Right.
People get tired of
Let's hear
that.
from our chat too. So what are you guys putting in your subject lines, or what unique follow-up have you done that's working? Let's hear from you guys as you're doing it. But I love anything that's personal and that you can, and snail mail, as Leah was saying, they mailed the birds. When's the last time you got a thank you note in the mail? Send snail mail.
I have one right here, actually. I got a thank you note for being a sponsor of the Digital Marketing Summit.
I was just gonna say, if I was I got that too. I got that from
I don't know. Yeah, from Kevin.
Yeah.
Greg. Yeah. I don't know if any of them were on the call. I didn't dig through, but
but no, that's anything like that, a postcard, a little handwritten thank you note. This is the stuff that sets you apart. And again, when you can ask those questions and make it really personal, for sure. Our friend Chris Hartley famously told the story with me a few years ago when we were doing a master session at the International Builder Show of sending out chatbot messages via text about a promotion. This was in 2018, I think, when that last 2 months of the year when everything went whoop. So they sent out to all their D leads. They thought they were dead, right? They were like, what do we have to lose? Telling them about a promotion that they were offering before the end of the year and asking, are you still in the market? They sold 7 homes off of that. I want to say I'm almost positive the number was 7 because it was something just from dead leads. So when you don't be afraid to send out like a chatbot kind of message through texting. Many of our CRMs allow for texting now, which is awesome. So, you can send out a more of a mass that looks like it's a very personal message and get those messages back. But we set appointments they set appointments, their OSC set a whole bunch of appointments for them. And then they ended up converting that into sales. And then those people who had already bought a home or were no longer in the market, well, guess what? It helped them clean up their database.
Exactly. So, I call it a revival campaign.
I like that.
It's a revival, right? Trying to revive the dead. And I have online sales counselors a lot of times come in with a 14-day follow-up plan. And it's a process. And it has all 4 of the different touch points: phone calls, emails, video emails, text messages. And they're sending it out, trying to revive these older leads. And then they can start to, like you said, clean up your database. Somebody's not responsive or still, put them in a certain place. say we're no longer interested, put them in a certain place. And more often than not, they do these revival campaigns, they get some appointments off of them.
Yeah, we make a lot of assumptions. So that I think that's probably the lesson.
We get in
here.
our
Don't
own
assume.
way. We get in our own way. I can't tell you how many times I say that. Get out of your own way. You know, just do what you need to do and get out of your own way.
Yeah, I mean, follow up until they tell you that they've bought or to go away, right?
I always say that. So they say, jump off the cliff or I bought somewhere else.
Right. Just keep following up because you don't know, things change. Maybe something happened in their family that's delayed their purchase process, or, you never know.
David is asking us, I struggle with the subject line. Do you have suggestions on quick ways to engage? So first of all, ask a question in the subject line. Should be short and sweet. Watch your punctuation though, because if you put question marks in there, sometimes that can go into spam. So ask a question without appropriate punctuation. Any other, I think it really depends on what you've talked to them about.
I like that Carol's kind of either or type of thing, chocolate, vanilla, tying it in with something like that that's kind of fun and upbeat. People are going to be, they're drawn to that.
Yeah. So, and then, it doesn't have to be relevant to the message. I mean, put something in there about it if you have it, but it can definitely just be attention grabbing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's a site called, I want to say it's called Really Good Emails, and it has all sorts of ideas for subject lines. And most of them are questions, or, the other way you can get really good subject lines is to follow clothing stores. Holy cow. Do you see their subject lines when they send out from White House Black Market and all these places that harass me, Brighton, Ann Taylor, The Loft, all of them, they have fantastic subject lines. And, I always think we can learn a little bit more than we think we can from retail. So.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you there.
It's called really, Ann just asked, I think it's called Really Good Emails. I'll see if I can Google it real quick and put it in there, although we're past time. Yeah. So Kimberly will include it in the notes when she sends everything out. I will
send it out because we are hitting the top of the hour here, but pay attention to what other emails are sending you. Carol and I have horses. So, and those of you who have chewy.com, they have fantastic email. They're one of the best, but I love the ones that says your package was just delivered. Yep, that was fast. We just high-fived the UPS guy.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So Leah Fellows is being bombarded with people who need to get into the business center there. And I think
I gotta run. This is fun.
Yeah. So
your time is
up
in that
for joining
room.
us, and I will get everyone's information out to anyone who registered for this, and I will get the video out by Friday to everyone. So if you missed something, you can go back and see it.
Thank you for having us on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Leah.
We can talk about it all day.
1 and 2.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.